We scoured the internet looking for the most recent topics that people with ADHD are talking about. And we've put them into, it's not a hat, but it's into a box.
Let me reach through the, I want to draw one.
Welcome to Hypercast.
Welcome to Hypercast.
I'm Melissa Llewellyn Snider, an ADHD coach and educator.
Hi, I'm Brianna Morton, an ADHD coach and neuroaffirming therapist.
We're going to do something a little bit different and kind of excited about it. Today is part 1 in the series of Topic Roulette ADHD edition. Do we want to do a rock, paper, scissors to see who gets to go first?
Okay.
Rock, scissors, shoot. Oh, I won. Okay.
You did.
I get to go first. Ooh. First topic is ADHD awareness and advocacy. Efforts to raise awareness and advocate for those with ADHD. For ourselves?
Sure.
Let's talk about advocacy and awareness. Are they the same thing? Are they different?
I would say that advocacy leads to awareness, and maybe awareness could lead to advocacy.
I think they're different things.
I think they are different things.
In my experience with ADHD, like I knew I had ADHD, but I wasn't fully aware of myself enough to really dive in and explore my ADHD and explore how to manage it for myself. You need to be aware of yourself and your needs to actually advocate for yourself.
Yeah. And the reverse is true as well, as advocacy can lead to awareness. So if someone is advocating on behalf of more information, more understanding, then you could become more aware of what ADHD is really like as a result. The awareness around ADHD has grown enormously. And when you and I were diagnosed and growing up, there was still misconceptions about what it was. In today's day and age, like kids are getting diagnosed really young. There's less stigma because when you get awareness and advocacy combined, it results in less discrimination, less stigma. And so if we're talking about that route and not just personal awareness, I feel like we've made huge strides in the past several years. As awareness grows, as advocacy grows, funding grows, research grows, and accommodation in society grows.
I'm really excited that there are more studies being done with women in mind because, as we've known, a lot of the studies have involved young or adolescent males. The other thing I would love to see is I'd like to see research done on adult men.
Specifically with emotion regulation, that because they've effectively rebranded anger as not an emotion. And so a lot of that recent study where it said that we have a shortened life expectancy,
yes,
a lot of that shortened life expectancy is due to impulsivity. It's due to anger. It's due to putting yourself in dangerous situations or being put in dangerous situations due to a lack of awareness or ability to navigate the world. And so if there are studies done on that and the impact of like drugs and alcohol on men, women, whomever, just more awareness now that we have a greater understanding of what it is. Also updated statistics on populations, because the statistic they've been touting forever is like 5 to 8% of the population has ADHD. Based on what? Based on male children, white male children. They don't look at indigenous populations. They don't look at people of color. They don't look at Asian populations. They don't look at women, like trans populations,
which
queer populations.
Any members of those populations from actually being, it lowers the possibility of us actually getting diagnosed in the long run. And that means that we may spend a lifetime not knowing and not being able to put things into their proper places. And that's devastating.
I came across, you're going to get so mad. I was doing some research and I came across a study from the Middle East. And the title said, How to Deal with Children Infected by ADHD.
Oh, we're infected.
Yeah. So there's still a long ways to go in certain places in the world in terms of advocacy, in terms of awareness.
It further leads to more stigma because, you come near us and you're going to catch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We recently did an interview with the Focus Forward podcast on this very topic on advocacy.
Click the link in the description.
You get to choose. Okay, let me rummage. You say stop, and I will pull something in.
Stop.
Ooh, ADHD and medication management. Insights into effectively managing ADHD medications and their side effects.
We are not medical professionals. If you are taking any of these medications, consult your doctor. The disclaimer.
Always.
We just happen to have a lot of knowledge in it because we have ADHD.
And we're constantly researching.
Correct. But always consult your doctor. Do not take two women on the internet's opinion.
And your results may vary. Let's talk about the types of medication that you could possibly be prescribed if you have ADHD. So stimulant medication that's first and foremost. And there's like 2 branches of stimulant medications, the Ritalin branch and the Adderall branch.
Yeah. Then there's
And-
non-stimulants.
There's non-stimulants.
And then you can also be prescribed antidepressants, anxiolytics, which are anti-anxiety medications, antipsychotics. These are the ones that aren't actually helpful for ADHD, and yet you can
That's
still
what
be
I went
prescribed.
through when I was first being prescribed.
Yeah. And then there's also supplements, vitamins. They can prescribe exercise. They can actually prescribe video games. There is an FDA-approved video game designed to treat ADHD. So, and then also therapy, coaching, you can get things like that. Is that medication? I mean, it's prescribed by a doctor.
I've heard of doctors writing scripts to exercise or to do a certain thing, but it's not technically a medication. The medical community considers like the golden standard for treating ADHD as medication, exercise,
Specifically stimulant medication.
exercise, and either coaching or therapy as your golden trifecta of treating ADHD.
Non-stimulant medication versus stimulant medication.
A stimulant will take effect within an hour or so. A non-stimulant medication can take 30 days to actually start functioning and working.
Non-stimulant medication, the side effects can be drowsiness, headaches, dizziness, nausea, weight loss, decreased appetite. And then the ones where you should consult a doctor, like blurred vision, constipation, dry mouth, insomnia, low blood pressure, low heart rate, and sexual problems. Fun.
There you go.
The sexual problems one is typically with the antidepressants that are also prescribed to treat ADHD, so like Wellbutrin and Effexor. This is why I have such a problem with Wellbutrin and Effexor as a first-line treatment for ADHD. My personal issues with Wellbutrin and Effexor is they are antidepressants. Wellbutrin is an NDRI, a norepinephrine, a dopamine reuptake inhibitor, which is not a stimulant medication. So it is not the gold standard for ADHD treatment. However, it is commonly prescribed for those with ADHD because often we have comorbid depression or anxiety. And so doctors who are afraid of diagnosing ADHD, who are afraid of stimulant medication due to misunderstandings, lack of education and training, etc., will go for Wellbutrin first because they have a better understanding of antidepressants. And then it doesn't help. Some people on Wellbutrin find that it is helpful.
Yes, absolutely.
I believe that it is lack of understanding on the doctor's part if they're prescribing Wellbutrin. But if you and your doctor have discussed it and find that it's helpful for you, then there's no shame in the game.
And sometimes the non-stimulant medications are prescribed in concert with a stimulant medication as part of a treatment plan.
Or in the case where you can't take a stimulant medication, and you were about to dive into a list. So give me.
Okay. Let's talk about stimulant medication and the possible side effects. Some of the most common ones are going to be, well, I think one of the most common ones is appetite. We actually did a wonderful interview with Annika Angelo. She is an ADHD nutrition expert about how to feed yourself when you have ADHD. And she has great practical tips on how to do that. I have found, this is my own personal experience with stimulant medications. After you take the medication for a while, it does get a bit easier, but you do need to pay attention to your body and its signs. Before I started taking stimulant medication, my body would roar with hunger. And now it kind of mews like with hunger. That roar is not as loud. I have to pay attention to when it's actually talking to me and saying, oh, hey, I need something.
Yeah.
Another one of my continuous things that I have with stimulant medication is actually dry mouth. I usually carry water with me. There are certain gums that you can use and chew. There are mouthwashes that you can do to rinse that actually help with the production of saliva.
Commonly with stimulant medication, appetite suppression, as you said, sleep problems, stomach aches. If your mood is changing, you're not on the right med, go see your doctor.
Yeah, I've heard anecdotally and read scientifically that the Adderall class, especially in males, can cause slightly more aggression issues. So if you're experiencing any of those things, make sure to talk to your doctor.
And then the last one was the heart rate and the blood pressure situation. That's why you get the EEG before you go on stimulant medication, just to make sure that you're doing okay.
Not every doctor requires that.
That's true. When I was first put on it, I didn't need one. And then when I went to a different doctor, they're like, you never had an EEG before this? I was like, well, I've had EEGs. Like nothing came up, but like never in relation to my ADHD meds. But they were like, it's a requirement. And I was like, okay, slap it on me.
Yeah. I mean, my doctor we always do a blood pressure check and I've never had a problem.
Never had a problem either. It's incredibly rare, but like that would be a reason why stimulant medication might not work for you on stimulant. With the mood changes piece, I had a friend in high school who went on Vyvanse and their bubbly personality just became like one note so numb. And if that happens to you, you're not on the right meds. Whereas I've had friends who are on Vyvanse who love it, like couldn't take Adderall, couldn't take Concerta. Vyvanse made their lives better. it depends on your genes, your body chemistry, and things like that. If you go to your doctor and you need ADHD meds and it's not working, don't give up. Don't lose hope. Go back. Tell them what you've been experiencing. Get on a different one.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the fear about possibly trying a stimulant medication. And every time someone tells me about this, I had the same problem. It took my doctor 2 years to convince me to go on stimulant medication. And finally, he was just like, look, he goes, take it. It has a short half-life, meaning it gets out of your system pretty fast.
Yeah. Within 24 hours. That's why you have to take it daily.
Yes.
I understand that it is a privilege to be on medication, but from my own personal experience, the experience of my friends and clients and my education, it is night and day different between how much better you can regulate and be in control of your own life.
Brianna, I know you were young when you first started taking stimulant medication. Do you remember your first experience? Do you remember the feeling between not being on it and then being on it?
I had a lot of social problems as a kid because I had a lot of impulsivity and not a lot of regulation of my behavior. I would jump all over my friends and be too up in their business. I didn't realize they were sending signals that that wasn't what they wanted. When I went on the meds, I had a much easier time making friends because I was better in control of my behavior. I stopped fighting to go to school all the time because I finally understood like everything. It wasn't that I was stupid. It's just that I couldn't focus and I couldn't pay attention. They were making me sit still at my desk and I was really struggling. And then as soon as I went on the meds, it was so much easier for me to sit in class and concentrate and learn stuff. And that's when I developed my love of learning. Like it was so wonderful to be able to understand all these concepts because I could finally listen to what the teacher was saying. Yeah. Overall, it was such a huge change for me too, in terms of positive things in my life, like making friends, being able to function in school. I'm on my second master's degree as a result of all this.
The love of learning has been embraced by you.
Absolutely. I also had so many benefits in terms of my life and my ability to function as an adult specifically. Like as a child, most of your executive function needs are taken care of. As an adult, I cannot function without my meds. I'm so grateful that they exist, work well for me.
Yeah, I was in my late 20s when I first tried a stimulant medication and I fought it so hard. But the first time I took just one pill, an hour later, my brain went quiet for the first time in my entire life. It's like I hadn't breathed in my entire life. My shoulders were always up here because I always had so much anxiety. Life was always so intense and smacking me in the face. And I could finally freaking breathe. That is a feeling I can't you can't really understand it unless you experience it. And also, I've learned along the way that I didn't realize part of me was covered up. But recently, I found out that I have autism, but I didn't know that my ADHD I have ADHD with a capital H, like hyperactivity all over the place. And that was so intense. That was covering up the autism. Like it was just so prevalent.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I started taking meds that my personality was starting to emerge. Mm-hmm. Taking the medication has allowed me the opportunity to actually get to know myself.
Yeah. I will say that's the case with me as well. I was so impulsive and hyperactive that I wasn't really choosing how to spend my time. I was just reacting. And then when I went on the meds, I was now in control. All of my desires, dreams, hobbies, and interests were allowed to shine through rather than just reacting to what was happening in the situation.
I recently had someone who knows me really well that's related to me. They're like, oh, you're not being really bubbly and energetic right now. And I realized that they have not had many opportunities to actually know the part of me that's not so on all the time.
We're still bubbly and energetic when we're interested in something, right?
Yes. But God forbid, now I'm actually get the chance to not have to be on all the time. Maybe I could take a mask. I'm not saying that that bubbliness is a mask, but I get to go be quiet every now for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Because you know what being on all the time does? It makes you exhausted. It really does.
No, really?
It's so exhausting.
Here's the other piece to address the grieving piece that comes with that.
Yes,
if you are later diagnosed and you finally get on meds and for the first time in your life experience a brain that's not bombarding you with a train wreck of thoughts every second, right? And you finally experience that peace, that quiet, that calm. Is this what everyone else has experienced? Is how everyone else has been navigating their life and I've just been suffering? That is such a hard thing to come to terms with. The reason that people might delay getting meds, right? They're like, oh, I don't know if it'll work for me. If it doesn't work for me, what do I do? I need it to work because I can't keep living like this. But then there's that other piece of if it does work, if I actually do have this and the meds actually do work for me, what does that mean for all of the life that I've lived up until this point?
And that's a lot of emotion to deal with.
There's a lot of reasons why taking meds for ADHD and getting a diagnosis for ADHD is a really hard thing to do emotionally.
Next topic.
Next topic.
This is going to be my poll, isn't it? Okay. ADHD and career choices. Guidance on selecting careers that align with strengths and challenges of ADHD.
My aptitude test told me I should be a ballerina.
That is the funniest thing. I took it in high school and skipped the meeting with my guidance counselor to get my results, so I still don't know.
I really love job aptitude tests because one, it's like pseudoscience. It's not real. But oftentimes you can tell who has ADHD and who doesn't based on the results. The neurotypicals will tend to get business or politics. The autistic individuals will get something like math or science, and the ADHD individuals tend to get something like athletics or something where there's a lot of movement. So a lot of the questions are like, I would love to sit still at a desk for 9 hours. It's dumb.
Who wants to sit at a desk for 9 hours?
Yeah, it doesn't ask about interests. It doesn't ask about strengths. It asks about, like, could you be a corporate slave?
Joy. That sounds like the worst job in the world.
There are careers that do lend themselves really well to ADHD. Race car driver is one of them. EMT is another one.
ER doctor or nurse.
Anything where there is crisis, constantly, urgency, we tend to do really well in because we are very calm crisis. Mm-hmm. Anything where there's monotony or routine, we tend to struggle with.
Yes.
Whereas autistic individuals would do really well in those kind of careers. If you're trying to do something where it's like data analysis, where day in, day out, it's the same thing and there's no variety to it, you're really going to struggle.
And as someone who is ADHD, I can tell you, like, I love data analysis for a little while.
But there needs to be variety. Like, I also love data and analysis, but I can't do that as a career. I need variety.
I've known people who have ADHD that really love teaching because it gives you some autonomy over what your day-to-day looks like, some autonomy depending on where you are.
I've heard that serving and Uber driving is a really great career for people with ADHD.
Chefs, because no day is the same.
Exactly. Where every day it's the same structure of the job, so you know the expectations, which is really calming for us, but there's a new person to talk to, there's new orders, there's new something. Like, that difference between I understand what is expected of me so I know how to do well, and then I can adapt on the go, right?
There's a lot of neurodivergencies spread across the entertainment industry, whether it's in front of the camera or behind the camera.
Creative, very spontaneous, often using humor that could come from trauma, which is associated with ADHD. Yeah, so anything that's like a lot of inventions, CEOs or business people who are pushing the boundaries.
Like Richard Branson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, he had an airline, a radio.
He's had 50 million different.
Yeah, exactly. So if there's something that you can do like really creatively like that, really innovative, out of the box problem solving, that is where our skills lie.
Like you were saying, in the restaurant jobs, we like actually knowing what the expectations are. But if things can shift and change and there's something different every day, or there's something that urgently requires something of us, those things really light up our brains.
Yeah, exactly. So beautician, hairstylist, fitness trainer, firefighter, like, art. Art is another one. Like art, graphic designer, filmmakers, like video game designers, like all of that stuff is very creative. Very highly skilled. I really enjoy when our traits are seen as a benefit, as strengths. This is something that you and I have talked about, like neurodivergence in the workplace. Like, why would you deny someone who has these creative abilities, who has these out of the box thinking abilities, who has this like calm in a crisis abilities, just because they can't do the same thing every day, right? Mm-hmm. Like, give them variety and thrive.
Exactly.
Right?
Managers who are like actually aware that neurodivergencies come with strengths and know this about their employees can utilize those strengths.
Yeah.
God forbid someone who has ADHD or autism has a special interest, give them something they're interested in doing and they will take it and excel at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the things I'm the most sad about, is that we neurodivergents, ADHD, autistic individuals tend to be underemployed. Mm-hmm. And it's due to our differences in social skills that are more appreciated.
Communicating.
Our communication differences lead us to not do very well in interviews. It leads us to get passed over for promotions. It leads us to be fired for certain things. If there's like a really rigid timing or deadline thing and you can't meet those requirements and you're not getting accommodations at work, you're gonna be falling behind the rest of the group because the employers aren't giving you the accommodations you need and utilizing your strengths. And so it's a really difficult place to be when you are struggling and no one is there to support you.
Understanding acceptance of yourself when it comes to your specific neurodivergency, it helps. It helps you in the circumstances where you may actually have an interview. It helps you understand how you need to communicate. It helps you to understand how to advocate for yourself. The more I understand myself, the better interviewer I've become, the better I am at talking to people and explaining my needs. And even if I don't disclose that I have ADHD, that I have autism, I am able to express my needs in a way that people go, oh yeah, sure.
Like, it just makes sense. A lot of our needs just make sense, realistically. Like, hey, could you write down what you just sent in an email? Because, like, I'm bad with verbal instructions.
Yeah. Like, I usually have a pad of paper next to me when I'm having a conversation longer than 2 minutes. I just want to make sure that I remember everything we're talking about.
Yeah. Then it makes you seem like you're confident, you're a team player, like you're involved in your role and your work and whatever, because it's like, oh yeah, they're really interested and they really want to make sure they're doing a great job. It just makes sense.
It just makes sense. So yeah, knowing yourself, understanding yourself actually helps you put yourself in a better position when it comes to finding a job. And for a lot of us, keeping a job, because how often have we lost jobs or walked away from jobs because we did not understand how to advocate for ourselves and we've burnt out.
Yeah, we do tend to be job hoppers.
Yes.
Either through being fired or through getting bored and quitting.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes you may find yourself in a position or company where you may be able to take on a different role. You may be able to expand a role to incorporate something that you're interested in.
Yeah, responsibilities, shift it up a little bit, rotate around. Jobs where you can set your own schedule are really helpful too.
Yeah. We've talked a little bit about this in our ADHD in the workplace. And also, if you get the opportunity, take a look at the Invisible Disabilities interview we did with Jessica Hickstad.
Yeah. We do an episode on burnout.
We actually did an episode on burnout too.
Let's link that one in the description too, because that's the other piece of like, we give 110%, which leads us to be really good workers in the beginning, and then we burn ourselves out. Yeah. If we can learn our limits and break that cycle, neurotypicals aren't giving 110%. They're giving like 60 to 80% max because they're saving some for themselves so they can do hobbies and daily adult tasks, man. So if we learn to not give 110% and not burn out, we will have a much better career trajectory.
Yep. Okay, Brianna, we have to do
one more topic.
One more topic.
Topic roulette. Gimme. Stop.
ADHD and academic performance. Strategies to support students with ADHD in educational settings.
Stunning. Hilarious that this came up after work. As someone who is currently in academia for the past so many years, I don't know if I can talk about this. I'm just having trauma flashbacks.
There are ways to kind of prevent some of the trauma that comes along with being in an academic setting.
Don't do 2 back-to-back master's degrees.
Okay, that too. But preparing yourself for the academic arena.
When you're going through kindergarten, elementary school, the requirements on you are pretty low. Once you start to get into like middle school, high school, and the requirements are becoming more difficult, you start to struggle a little bit more with time management, with handing in assignments on time, et cetera, et cetera. And that is when you're trying to develop executive functioning and social skills all in that time period. Then you go away to university. All of the structure that you had, which was already...
It goes away.
It goes away. So like parental support, teacher support, academic support, social support, all of that is gone. You're in a new environment on your own for the first time. And there's just a bunch of kids who don't know what they're doing. Do you succeed in that situation?
We did an amazing interview.
We did such an amazing interview.
With an education expert who's a coach who actually brought one of her clients with her, who's currently a college student, and went from failing out of college to getting A's and B's. Caroline's amazing. So
link in the description. Check out that video. It's so great. But a little bit of what we talked about in that episode is reaching out for help. Before you start failing, reach out for help. So go to your academic services on campus. Talk to your teachers.
And when do you go? That's the question.
Day one.
Day one. You don't go. You don't go when you're struggling, when you're crying and burning out. You go on day one before you think you even may need a service, because so many of us may actually go, well, I don't know. Do I really need this? And then you second guess yourself.
It's so helpful to have in place that just have them in place, have everything ready for you. And then if you don't need it, you don't have to use it. But if you're struggling, which will often happen around exam time, like you're like, oh, I'm coasting. I don't need this. Everything's fine. Then exams hit. You're like, I need this.
Or God forbid, you get like 2 major assignments at the same time due on the same day, and then you're struggling with due dates.
You're allowed to shift those. If you have accommodations,
Yeah.
you can shift deadlines. You can take extra time on tests. You can have a separate exam space so you don't have to be distracted by other people tapping their pens or breathing loudly while you're trying to remember answers. The possibilities of what you could ask for are endless. And if you don't know what to ask for, they have suggestions because they've been through this before with so many other students. And so they'll give you the basic package and then you can add on or take off what you don't need.
If you're actually applying for school, that's the time to go speak to disability services, because it may take a little bit for everything to get processed through their system. You may actually need documentation from your doctor.
Yeah, that's what I did. I specifically chose my undergrad for their disability services program. They had a pre-orientation. We got to see the entire campus, get our accommodations, meet the teachers, meet each other before the rest of the school came on. It was so helpful to like already know my way around and not be so overstimulated.
That's important to note, because some schools may be better than others at handling disabilities, but regardless of what school you go to, having that conversation as you're even applying is really important. Because that may affect the school you want to go to, or it may just affect having a good relationship in the disability service department to make sure that you get the accommodations you need when you need them.
Absolutely.
Of course, coaches can be really helpful too when you're trying to figure out that balance of being on campus. All of a sudden, you have not just academic demands, but social demands. It's kind of this gateway to adulting. You're trying to figure out how to wash your clothes and keep your room clean, and like not having someone else there like over your shoulder demanding that you do it.
Yeah, absolutely. With academics, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind that you can succeed. A lot of us tend to be smarter than the average neurotypical.
Yes.
Some of the time we do have intellectual disabilities, and that can be accommodated for and supported as well. But I'm saying you have all of the power and control and skills to get through university, to get the career you want, trade school, whatever it is you're going for. Don't let anyone hold you back.
Well, I think that's all the topics for today.
If you liked this kind of rapid fire topic roulette situation, let us know in the comments below and we'll do more episodes like this. I thought it was really fun.
I thought it was great. If you are in need of further ADHD services, you can find me at likemindcoaching.com.
You can find me at understandingadhd.ca.
Until next time, bye.
Bye.
I just hit myself in the head with a box.
You did. Would you like to try that again?
Oh, that's going to be in a blooper reel.
At least you didn't hit yourself in the head with the corner of the box.
That could have taken an eye out.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.